It's Masters time once again, and while you may know all there is to know about green jackets and back nine charges at Augusta National and pimento cheese sandwiches, I've got 3 things I bet you didn't know about golf equipment at the Masters. Number 1, unlike just about every PGA Tour event, as well as the other 3 major championships on the calendar, there are no golf equipment vans on premises at Augusta National during the Masters. Typically, golf equipment companies like Titleist and TaylorMade and Callaway and Ping and Srixon and Wilson and Cobra and all host of others are allowed to park large trucks very, very close to the practice area because technicians and tour executives are going back and forth between the practice area and those vans, getting feedback from different players, working on clubs, doing regrips, doing loft and lie checks, sometimes doing equipment tests in the days leading up to the tournament. However, during the Masters, those trucks are parked across Washington Road, so the technicians have to go back and forth across the road through a special gate where they have permission to enter the premises, and then they go either around or through the caddy building to get themselves onto the practice area at Augusta National Golf Club. Also, they need to be escorted or brought in by one of the players. You don't just sort of hang around and linger in the practice area during the Masters. They are really encouraged to come with a player or at the behest of a player, work with that golfer, and then get out. If you want to talk business, if you want to hang out and linger a little bit and have a discussion, most of those conversations actually happen directly behind the Augusta National Golf Club near the first tee underneath a really large oak tree. That's the place where tons of business gets done at the Masters. It does not get done behind the players while they're warming up and practicing on the practice area. Typically during PGA Tour events, you'll see loads of people hanging out in that area. Again, during the Masters, totally different story. Number 2, and it sort of relates to number 1, is that unlike at weekly PGA Tour events, you're not going to find manufacturers laying out different demos and different clubs for players to try around the practice green or around the hitting area at Augusta National Golf Club. Typically, manufacturers, especially putter makers, will drop large bags and have lots of different offerings for players to try. Everybody on the PGA Tour, just like us, is open to the idea of finding a little bit of lightning in the bottle. And if they've got a flat stick that they're really unhappy with and something happens to catch their eye, oftentimes they'll pick something up and at least give it a try, and that'll spark some conversations about equipment that may want to get into. At Augusta National Golf Club, that doesn't happen. The only golf bags you're going to see around the practice area or on the golf course are bags that are currently being used by players. Number 3, while the greens at Augusta National have as much movement and undulation and speed as any you're going to find in the world, golfers are not showing up to play at the Masters with brand new wedges. The work that goes into developing the wedges and putting them into the bags of the players who are going to be competing at the Masters actually starts during the Florida swing. Manufacturers like Titleist and Ping and Callaway, who know they have a significant number of players that are going to be in the field already at the Masters, will oftentimes make exact replicas or duplicates of the wedges that are currently in that player's bag, and they'll either send them home from a tournament on the Florida swing or they'll send them directly to the players' houses, basically for a break-in period. And what the break-in period usually constitutes is 1 or 2 casual rounds of golf at the player's home or a couple of good vigorous practice sessions. And they're really not looking for anything other than the fact that the way that the sole grinds and the configurations are set up are going to be exactly the way that the player wants, while still keeping the grooves fresh. Everybody wants fresh grooves and everybody wants to have as much spin on those greens as they can possibly get, but the player needs to know that that wedge, and specifically that bounce and sole configuration, is going to be just right. After a brief break-in period, just to confirm in the player's mind that they know that the sole is going to work exactly the way they want it to through the turf, they put them off to the side and they hold them until Masters Week. Then they bring those clubs out with those nice fresh grooves and they put them into play.